And we are live. Welcome back, everyone, to Real Talk with Heather and Andres. I'm Andres. This is where we keep it real, keep it straight, and get into the stories that matter.
We're not here for fluff. We want to hear your journey, your challenges, and your wins.
Outstanding. And before we get started, people, this is for you guys. We appreciate the support. We appreciate the feedback. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, um, and share with anyone that you can feel and needs to hear this message and our stories. And again, if you want to share your story, please don't forget to go to our website, realtalk.live, and put an application in so we can hear your stories and make an impact in somebody else's life. So yeah, before we dive into a little further, I wanted to take this moment to say happy birthday to my son, Xavier Bomba. I love you, kiddo. Appreciate you. Happy birthday. Excited to see you.
Happy birthday. Hope you have a great
So
day today.
absolutely. Well, hey, we want to continue today. Let's dive into it. On the psychology of home buyers. We were going through the book that we are providing to you guys for free as well. So don't forget to go to our website, our channel, and get your free copy of the book. Right. So Heather, what is one thing you want our audience to take away from today's episode?
Probably just communication. I know we talk about that a lot, but that communication is key. And communication, the more you communicate, the more trust you build, the better the relationship you can have with your current clients, your leads, as well as referral clients, because you're going to have that trust built in with your clients. Just communicate so that you know what they're looking for, you know how they're feeling. This whole book has really been about the psychology of the buyer. So if you don't know what the mindset and the frame of mind of your buyer is, how can you actually really help them along this home buying journey?
Absolutely. You have to sit down and really ask the hard questions, right? And this is exactly where we left off, right? Resetting expectations on home ownership. I know we briefly touched on that last on Tuesday. You don't want a homeowner to come in, brand new home, and have unexpected maintenance. And as you say, communication, setting up the right expectations from the beginning, understanding exactly what they need, and finding the best available option for them and looking at every angle. I think is very important in this process. So yes, communication definitely, definitely.
I was actually reminded of a story of one of an agent friend of mine and Tony's that was at our old brokerage. We were talking right before we left the last show. We were talking about getting the inspection, making sure that it's done by a licensed professional, so you have that 90-day warranty. And this happened to an agent. Believe it or not, this happened to an agent. And we, as agents, should know better, but we're human. We make mistakes. So she did not use a inspection company to inspect the house that she bought, her own personal home that she was buying for herself and her family. And she used her contractor, a contractor that does, the handyman jobs here and there for her to come and inspect the house. And everything looked good. So they moved forward with the purchase, bought the house. Well, it turns out that that house had polybutyrone piping in it. And if you know what that is, you know that those pipes don't last very long and they end up causing a lot of problems for a lot of people, a lot of leaks. And she was not in the house very long at all, under a year, I dare say under 6 months. And the ceiling in the kitchen just caved in because of the pipes. They sprung leaks, they burst, and it is an unfortunate situation where it's the entire house most of the time is piped with that. So you're looking at repiping the entire house. And a person who is licensed with a company, a home inspector, would have caught that. But unfortunately, she didn't use that.
Oh wow, that's and this is we've mentioned that several times, right? We talked to an inspector a few months ago, and I wanted to share another little story that goes along with that. Is not too long ago, a friend of mine, she works in the lending department. Uh, she had two buyers and a sellers. They were friends, but neither of them used a real estate agent to the transaction, right? And although they were friends, there was some friction that came out during the transaction because neither of them understood all the paperwork right away. You know, um, the seller or the buyers needed more money to be able to close the transaction, something that was not put in the contract. So there was a lot of little details that were coming throughout the transaction that they were looking at each other like, what do we do? I don't want to do this. You didn't say this. You didn't promise this. And they're asking the lenders questions about this. And the lender was like, look, there's nothing I can do. That's why we recommended to hire an agent so that you get informed, you get inspections, you get the resources to be able to, you know, get a smooth transaction going. But that didn't happen. So although they started as friends and they ended up as friends, there was a lot of friction built throughout the transaction because there was a lot of things that not covered because neither of them understood it or had someone to really dive in the process. And again, there's different services that the brokerage can offer. Whether you want to oversee the transaction, um, you it's recommended to hire at least to some capacity a brokerage or an agent to help you in this transaction to avoid mistakes like this and uh, unfortunate situation where now without an inspection there's more damages and repairs that need to be done later on. So always ask the questions. Really, communication. Ask the questions. If you're diving into a transaction and you don't know much, take your time. Do your due diligence to us. Find someone that can guide you or help you because it's a big investment, right? And a lot of times you're using all your funds right there at the beginning, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're having a hard time afterwards.
And it's really unfortunate when that happens. Situations like you're referring to with them, and they're actually really fortunate that their friendship was able to withstand that because it is such an emotional process, especially if things are coming up and you don't understand what's going and everybody's getting frustrated because nobody actually knows what's going on to explain it to the other person. So I'm glad they were able to keep that friendship intact throughout that process. I'm sure it's probably not the same friendship it was before, but at least they still have the friendship.
Yeah, and I love what when we talked to Caleb about 2 weeks ago, what Creative Financials company does as from an investor perspective. Uh, they want to make sure that that buyer has at least 5 or 6 months of of mortgage of revenue saved in order to take care of that property. Because again, you don't want to put somebody in a position where they buy a house and a home, and next thing you know, they're not able to pay their monthly dues, not just in the homes, but their cost of living overall. So I love that.
And that's very true, and that goes right along with not letting your clients lose sight of the big picture. We've talked about this numerous times about having to redirect them to the path that they said they wanted to be on, because there's a lot of times where you'll be showing houses and they'll find a house that doesn't quite check all the boxes, but there's one thing about this house that they love, and all of a sudden they're willing to compromise everything else to get this one thing that they say they love. But a lot of times in that moment, you're like, yeah, I can drive an extra 30 minutes to work for this house. It's not that big of a deal. Or, yeah, I can move like an hour away from my family. It's not that big of a deal. Well, we said we needed a ranch, but we can deal with those steps. We can make the wheelchair go up the steps. It's okay. And you have to redirect your clients and say, hey, let's really, really think about this. And at the end of the day, if they're like, no, 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 this is the house I want, then that's the house they want. But a lot of times a conversation with them to ground them back into reality of what they said they wanted and not letting them lose sight of that big picture.
Absolutely. I love the quote on the next slide over, which is if you're moving to a place far away from your friends, but it has nicer stuff, it's not a great deal for your happiness, right? Uh, yes, you love the house, but like you said, are you farther away from your friends? Are you farther away from your work, your commute? Your overall happiness may not be there 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road when you start looking at like, okay, it went from 15-minute drive to work to 45-minute drive. And in the afternoon, it went from 30 minutes to an hour drive. because of traffic and things like that. And now your friends that you see multiple times a week or can help you with a few things if needed, such as bringing the kids to work, to school, right? These little details sometimes we tend to overlook because we see a property we liked, we see a particular area that we love, uh, but on the back end, we don't think of the big picture. What is that doing on the road? And and now you start to realize, okay, this was not the best decision on getting into this property. So always take a look at all the different angles because at the end of the day, it's either a monetary financial impact or it's an emotional impact that is making in your life.
And I always tell everybody too, wherever the house is, go at the time that you're going to be going to work from that house to work to see how long it takes you to get there. Because you don't know the traffic in that area unless you already live in that area. You don't know the traffic in that area. So you could be thinking, hey, yeah, Google Maps says it's going to take me 15 minutes to get to work. But it could take you a lot longer depending on the time of the day. Actually, this happened to us the other day. Tony and I were taking my daughter to cheer, which is normally a 30-minute drive. And just because of the holiday traffic, it was 45 minutes. And we had not anticipated that time frame to jump up 15 minutes. But it can. So those are things you got to look out for.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now the home buying process is not just for as a home buyer. You also have to look at it from a real estate perspective, right? And these next slides dives into it. Sometimes as real estate agents, we want to show that person that we are there, right? And we get excited and and we talk to the person the first time and we try to be something. We try to be someone that we're not, just so that we can be there for that person. But really, I think the most important thing is it's always being yourself. I stated in this slide, uh, and we have some things really to try to avoid when when making contact with the home buyer because we tend to overlook it and just start reacting and try to be. We just start to getting into a sales mode, right? Have you ever seen that?
Yes. I've seen a lot of agents that get into sales mode that are very pushy. Or like number one here is making wild promises, making, these outrageous promises, which a lot of times you'll hear advertisements and you'll see something. I used to see them a lot when the market was hotter. Like, oh, I just sold this house in 3 days. I can sell your house in 3 days too.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those. And one thing about real estate is it's not always about the quick sale. It's about the lifelong relationships that you're building in the process, right? These are great friends that you're building, family members that you're expanding, that could vouch for you and say, "Hey, I have someone to that would be able to help you," right? And as you said, some of the common things to avoid, um, being too persistent. Man, I get the sales call from different companies, whether it's right there on top of it, using photos of other people in your ads. That's you can't make that. There's a lot of regulations nowadays to prevent that from happening. Misrepresenting your relationship with others. Definitely should not be saying that you close deals with this and that when you really haven't.
Speaking of that, I had an agent. We were at a closing, and there was this agent. She'd been a nightmare to work with. Anyways, it was not my clients were amazing. The other agent, it was a hard transaction. I would say mostly because of the other agent. But at closing, she wanted to take a picture with my clients alone by herself with them holding her real estate sign. And my clients were like very uncomfortable. They were like, and I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. You're not taking a picture with them holding your sign. We can take a group picture, but you're not going to take a picture with your clients and then a picture with my clients, especially when my clients obviously don't want to do that. So that would definitely be misrepresenting your relationship with others, because what she would have done is obviously taken that picture, saved it, and then later posted it to make it look like she's having more business than she actually had, which, I mean,
That's
she wants to be a social media star, but you got to be real with what you're doing. You can't be, fake. And the too persistent thing, I think there's kind of like two sides to that. There's the being too persistent when you're lead generating, and then there's being too persistent when you already have the client. Now, when you're lead generating, that's one thing they say is like, make the calls, make the calls, make the calls, make the calls. And as long as you're not continuing to call somebody who's like, don't ever call me again, I think you need to make sure you are being persistent enough to get those leads. I think this one is talking more like you already have the client. They've already signed the BBA, your buyer brokerage agreement, and you're out showing houses. Listen to them. If they're like, we don't like this house, this really isn't the one for us, don't shove them into a house that they don't want to make an offer on because they don't like it. I think that's the persistent you want to look out for, because they're not going to want to work with you. They're going to feel pressured.
Exactly. There's a big difference in there. And you've seen it happen too. With it heard it happen. People don't want to see a particular house, and they're still setting up the appointments for those houses. Like, what are we doing here? Right? I told you I don't like that particular neighborhood. I don't like that area. Why you keep putting houses in front of me that I don't want to see? Like, is the house for you or is the house for me? And then invasive door knocking, door to door knocking. We could say that you're not a fan of door knocking, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am. I was like I said, you don't have to worry about me doing invasive door knocking because I'm not a fan of door knocking.
But you know what? We haven't seen that much of door knocking lately. I personally haven't seen much happening around here. Um, and nowadays, although it is common in some areas, and I see it and I heard of it, you don't see it happening. I don't hear much about it lately.
Yeah, I would say, at least in my neighborhood, I don't really get a lot of door knockers. We occasionally get somebody wanting to, they say the gutters or the roof or something like that. But as far as like real estate agents, yeah, I haven't. Now that you mention it, I don't think I've noticed a lot of door knockers in the last like 6 months, a year. Actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, and I think if it was in here, over 40% of home buyers nowadays they first start looking online. So with all the technology and accessibility to things, it's um, not surprising that the door knocking has gone down. But going back to the list, sending spam or anything your customer consider to be spam and consistently sending, that could be a turnoff, right? If the client is not responding and think that doesn't matter, you continuously keep sending emails, that could be a turnoff to someone saying, hey, man, stop it already.
Make sure you
Number,
have the unsubscribe. If you're going to be sending out bulk emails, if you're going to be sending out let's just call it what it is, spam emails to a bunch of people, make sure you have the unsubscribe so they can unsubscribe from your email. Because yeah, people do find that. I find that annoying. Like, there's nothing more frustrating to me than when I open my inbox and it tells me I don't have any more storage, and then I'm going through trying to delete stuff, and I'm like applying filters and all this, and I'm like, why is this company emailing me 4 times a day? I don't need 4 emails a day from this company. And if you're a real estate agent, you're going to annoy your people. Don't annoy them. Not after
absolutely.
they're already your clients.
Right. And along with that, number 7, pretending to know your prospect personally. Like, I don't see why somebody would do that. I don't get it. And then using the forward in your emails subject line. What do you think about that?
I was wondering, so I guess that's just like forwarding emails that they've gotten from somewhere else, and they're just forwarding on the emails to their client. I'm assuming what that means.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the email. Now, if you're trying to like relay information and it's something that you actually need to tell them, don't just forward them an email and assume that they'll understand what it means. Especially if it's like messages from the other agent or the closing attorney or something. Now, if they actually need to see the email, then yes, you can forward them emails, but also explain the email. And you don't have to leave the forwarded in the subject line. You can take that out and you can send it with your own email explaining, hey, this is what this is. If you have any questions, give me a call or shoot me a text. Or if you have to forward them an email, call them and be like, hey, or text them. I just sent you an email from so and so. If you have any questions, call me. I can clarify everything for you. Otherwise, it kind of looks lazy to me, doesn't it to you? Like, I don't have the time to explain to you what this means. So here, read this email.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just no time, no effort, no personalization whatsoever. Just here you go. Um, but wrapping this slide up is some of the best approaches is always being yourself, right? Uh, be friendly, listen to your clients' needs, help set reasonable expectations, and offer solutions to keep your client's best interest at heart. Sounds easy, simple. So make it happen.
Just be genuine. What we say, just be your genuine self and be a good person. You would think that that is self-explanatory, but it's not a lot of times, which is crazy. And it leads us into the next slide, which is a quote: "Successful people are always looking for opportunities to help others. Unsuccessful people are always asking, 'What's in it for me?'" And this was a quote by Brian Tracy. And I was thinking about that, and that is so true. That is so true.
Yeah, it's. I have that question before, and I've come in situation and talked to people that is really the first question they ask. What's in it for me? I'm gonna help you do this, or if I join you in this, what's in it for me? And for me, that's a turn off. A lot of times, I'm always looking for ways, and you know me personally, looking for the best interest of somebody else, always. And my wife, I've always done that. It's been my go-to since I can remember. Uh, and over recently, the past few months, you know how I went to I did the sitting for the new construction sites,
Mhm.
right? And they asked me last minute, "Hey, can you cover for me tomorrow?" Hey, I had to, the person sitting just not going to be able to cover. Can you just help? And if I can, I'm always there. No questions asked. If I can, if I look at my calendar and I'm able to do it, I do it. And I forgot who it was that asked me, "Why you always, just jumping in and being able to help?" Like, that's it. It's just my nature. I'm putting somebody else's interest at first. Uh, what's in it for me? It's an opportunity for me to just help out. That's what's in it for me. Nothing else, and everything else will fall apart accordingly. But oftentimes you hear that, and what's in it for me? And for me, that's a turnoff because if I'm asking, sometimes I'm doing something. What I'm doing is not even on my best interest. I just want you to partner up with me and helping this other person do that. And when somebody asks me what's in it for me, I'm like, okay, you're not the right person to ask. Like, I'm trying to help somebody else without expecting anything in return. Sometimes you just got to go for it. And I've seen that happen so many times.
I've definitely seen that with you. You are very similar to Tony. You guys are both givers, and you'll give and give and give, and you don't ask for anything in return. And a lot of times, there are people out there that take advantage of that. And it's something that I don't know if Ellie tells you this or not, but I tell Tony a lot. And then we have a couple of kids who are the same way as he is. And I'm like, you can say no. It's okay to say no. Like, if you actually really can't do something, stop trying to like bend over backwards to like, do everything for everybody. Sometimes you have to like say, I can't do everything for everybody, and I have to take it back, a step. It's nothing's more frustrating than seeing like you and Tony and some of the kids devote like everything they have to everybody else, and then when they need something or they need help, where's all those people?
It's hard to ask. For me, it's hard to ask for anything. Like, I could be in a hole. I could be in a pickle. You name it. I For me, it's hard to
Like,
ask
I'm fine,
for
I'm
something.
fine.
I'm good. Just a prime example happened the other day, right? And I'm driving home, and my car shuts down right in the middle of the road. The car behind me almost hit me. I put the car back on. I drove a few more feet, almost stops again at the top of the hill, but I managed to use that momentum and just get off the street. The car behind me almost hit me, and my partner called me, said, "Hey, I heard this happen. You need anything? You need me to go pick you up? You need, hey, whatever you need. Let's go take it to the shop right now. Let's take care of it right now." I'm like, "No, I don't need anything. I'll take care of it." Call the tow truck, right? And again, this is just a story. This happened to me 2 days ago, on Tuesday actually, right after the podcast. So I'm like, I called the tow truck. I called the truck. Oh, 45 minutes out. Friend calls me back. Yo, you need anything? I can go pick you up. Let's do it again. I'm like, no, they're 45 minutes out. I'm fine. I'm only 5 miles down the road from my house. Turned out it took him about 2 hours, 2 hours and 50 minutes to get there.
Oh my God.
And he called me up 2 hours in, and he's like, "You still there?" I'm like, "Man, I told you I got you." I'm like, "No, man, I'm good." They're right here. I just talked to them. They're right down the street. So I'll be home in about 15 minutes. Uh, but it's one of those things. It's hard for me to ask for anything, even now that I'm in a situation where I could have said, "Hey, can you just take me home and they'll pick up the car over here?" That's it. You know. No, I sat in the car, 28 degrees temperature. Car couldn't stay on. I couldn't keep the heater on. By the time the tow truck was there, my feet were frozen. Uh, but I couldn't ask for anything.
Oh my God.
But if somebody asked me, "Hey," I will be over there, no questions asked. So yeah, sometimes I definitely see it. Sometimes you got to say no, but it's
And
hard.
sometimes you gotta ask. Sometimes you gotta ask for help. It's okay
It's
to ask.
it's
So
so hard though. So
I
it's
like
so hard to ask for anything.
I know. But maybe we should make that one of your like goals for next year is practicing asking for help if you need help or assistance doing something.
But this ties in into this topic, right? As the psychology from home buyers. You gotta ask those hard questions. You as a both as a real estate agent and as a consumer, as a client, you gotta ask the real estate agents the questions that you have in mind. You know, dive into the details of the process, set the right expectations because you cannot assume that they know what you feel, what you want, right? And as a real estate agent, you cannot assume that everything that you're saying is the right thing for them. You cannot assume that they are doing the right things, that you're doing the right things for that particular family because you work with somebody else and had a similar situation. No, everyone's experience is different. Everyone's struggles on a daily basis is different. Everyone's concern, situation, mindset, it's different. Ask the questions, have those tough conversations, set the right expectations, and be able to guide them in the right way because at the end of the day, you want them to have a magnificent experience, a unique experience, uh, and to be the best one. You're building a long-term relationship with these people. Uh, it's not just a one-time client, right? That's how I see it. That's
They
how
will
I
be if you
approach it.
don't build that relationship.
Huh?
You said they're not just a one time client and said they will be if you don't build that relationship.
Exactly, exactly. And oftentimes we see it, and I see posts on Facebook and social media. Hey, my brother is buying a home. He's using a house. Sorry, he's using another real estate agent. Hey, my friends is using a real estate agent. I'm a real estate agent. Why? What? They didn't let me know. You know, are you sitting down and having those conversations? Do they know your real estate agents, and are you the best real estate agent for them? You know, sometimes we get upset because we lose certain business, but are we doing the right things? Are we having the right conversations? And most of the time, it's not. You know, you're losing business because you're not doing a great job on what you do. Let's be honest. You're
And not
not.
everybody is a good fit. Not everybody is a good fit for each other. Not everybody wants to put a transaction of this magnitude in your hands for whatever reason. They just like, I don't want to use you. And you have to say, okay, like if you put it out there, this is how I can help you, and they don't choose you, that is okay. And you have to sometimes accept the fact that if it is your brother or a cousin or an in-law or whoever, and they're like, yeah, I just don't want to use you as my agent. And it could be for whatever reason. It could be they don't want you to know their finances. It could be that they don't want you to see them going through something like that. Or they could be they promised somebody else that they would use them and they don't want to back down on that. So, it is what it is. It sucks because yes, you're like, yes, I wish you would have used me, but have that conversation with them. Find out if you need the answer as to why. Have that conversation, find out, and then accept it and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the same capacity, sometimes the client, the customer, is not a great fit for that agent, and the agent has to fire them. It goes both ways. If it doesn't work, you have the right to terminate that contract, that relationship, and allow somebody else that can really help them and maximize that experience for them to help them. Just because you want a transaction doesn't mean you have to follow through, even though you're not happy. And it doesn't match. Like, I rather say, hey, I have somebody else that can better help you in this particular transaction, right? I'm gonna connect you with them, and I think it will be a great fit for you guys to get this going in the right direction. I personally feel like you're not gonna get the best with me. Let me allow somebody else to do that for you.
Well, we're out of time today, but I will share next week. Remind me a story like that with you. I actually, and I don't know if I've shared this story before or not on the podcast, my very first client ever in real estate was a listing that I got from cold calling, and I ended up having to fire that client for it's a long story, but that was my first experience in real estate. And my coach and my broker at the time were like, trust us, this is not how this normally is. Don't let this ruin real estate for you, because it was very disheartening for me. I was like, I studied, I passed my test, I got my license, all of that work. This is the crap I have to deal with. I don't want to do this. So luckily I had a good support system at the time, but had I not, I could definitely see a situation like that happening and a person being like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not doing this. I can't do this for the rest of my life. So,
Yeah, no, definitely. And even for a home buyer, right? For a home buyer who doesn't have a great experience, could say, man, sucks. I'm not using another real estate agent. Like, screw this. These people are, you know, assholes. Pardon my language, but it goes both ways, and it's just really having the conversation, and like you said, sometimes you got to say no. And trust me, in that case, I would say no. Like, if I can't help somebody, I'm quick. I've learned my lesson, and I'm trying to convince people
yeah,
that are not willing to help themselves. But again, man, it goes by quick when you're having fun, right?
it is. We're at the top of the hour. So I just want to thank you guys for listening. And if you want your copy of the free ebook, make sure you scan the QR code at the top and you can go ahead and download your own copy. We're going to be giving away a book every week on our podcast until we run out of books, I guess. Thanks to our partnership with the CE Shop, which was founded in 2005 and has been the leading provider of online real estate education with industry leading passing rates and support from pre-licensing through CE, their students better prepared to set themselves up for success.
And with that, please visit the realtalkha.theceshop.com and take advantage of the 50% off they have going into tomorrow. Again, this week only is the biggest sales of the year. 50% code. Check out our website, sign up, and take advantage. Whether you're looking to get your real estate license, home inspection, mortgage originator, or continuing education for any of those areas, take advantage of that 50% off this week. And again, thank you again for listening. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us. And we love to hear your story and feedback. If you have any feedback on our video, our content so far, let us know. If you want anything in particular that you want to listen to, want us to talk about, or would like us to interview somebody about, let us know. We're happy to find someone in that particular field. And if you want to share your story and make an impact in somebody else's life, come to the show. Let's make it happen.
Well, it was
So,
awesome today, and we look forward to next week.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.